Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this month's webinar, Strat IQ webinar titled Defining Your Competitive Edge. Before we get started, wanted to give you some housekeeping notes for today. First, the hashtag for today's event is going to be @StratIQEdge. The Twitter handle is going to be the @StratIQ_market. And for today's webinar, I'd love it to be a dialogue. So I find that it's definitely much more impactful when I have a chance to answer questions throughout the event. So please feel free to either, if you have a specific question, chime in during the presentation via the chat window. You should see that in the upper right-hand corner of your screen on your control panel. Or if you've got a specific question and you want to ask it at the end, I'm going to open up the presentation so that folks can actually ask me a question and we can dig a little bit deeper into some of the topics. Or, as I'll point out at the end, you can always sign up for a consultation and we can dig a little bit deeper into some topics that are most relevant to your particular situation. So brief background, you're going to see that's me on the right-hand side. And at one point, that was me on the left-hand side. So you'll see that's Mount Rainier for those of you that are not in Washington State. And that's also a parachutist. And for the first 5 years of my professional career, I was a member of the U.S. Army Rangers and jumped out of planes for a living. And it's hard for me sometimes to think back because it's been quite a few years since I've done that. But, in the work I do today, that the military background really set the foundation for just about everything that I do in terms of my professional work. After leaving active service in 2000, I entered the financial services industry, and I worked for several large insurance companies, banks, and brokerage firms. Along the way, I picked up an MBA from the University of Washington, and so as I've deconstruct kind of my own background and look what I bring to client engagements. It's really a solid background of both experiences, both globally. I've traveled to just about every continent on the planet with the exception of Antarctica, and also professional experiences. So I hope to share a little bit of that with you today and just give you a flavor for what I consider to be one of the most important topics that any business can consider, and that's what is your competitive advantage. So this is kind of the most important slide, and a lot of folks will hold the most important slide till the end, just to kind of keep people's. I find it's helpful to understand the bottom line up front. And with competitive advantage, it's really a question of strategy, and the questions really: what is it that I'm going to do? What product? What service? What value add am I bringing to a particular relationship? And just as importantly, what is it that I'm not going to do? I have a lot of engagements with clients, and this is probably the most important question, because oftentimes when I deal with entrepreneurs or individual sole practitioners, I find that they're always trying to do too much, and they come and they're under a lot of stress and they're working incredibly hard, and really, it comes down to trying to do too much, trying to add value in a lot of different areas, and it's very, very, very difficult to do that. So after you ask that question, you have to ask, what is it that makes my product or my service unique? And uniqueness is, it's kind of an interesting question. So for this particular, example, we use a process called the 5 whys. I want to know why my customer is going to want to use this. And then I ask subsequent questions to really delve into what really is the underlying uniqueness of a particular service. An example might be I'm a financial advisor and I work with estate planning. Well, why do people need that? Well, they need that because a lot of times when you accumulate wealth, you have very complex wealth management issues that you need to be able to take care of and tackle. Well, why do you need to do that? Well, because if you don't, it causes a lot of issues on the back end for your heirs, and the state may not necessarily transfer to the particular parties that you want it to, or may not be utilized in ways in which you intended it to be. Why is that important? Well, I have goals. I've got different things that I do. So you can see that by drilling down, you can continue to define unique aspects of a particular product. And that's true for software, it's true for clothing manufacturers, it's true for any type of small business, people who work in plumbing or contracting, attorneys. And that's really a very important exercise to go through, because it tends to layer and build out a great value proposition for folks. And then the question is, what problem am I solving? Sometimes it's fairly obvious. Other times it's a little bit more subtle. And so the question really becomes, where are the people for whom I'm solving this problem? And what do they look like? And what are they looking for in this product? And obviously that really runs the entire spectrum of different products, whether you're a business to direct consumer, or your business to business client, or B2B client. The questions really comes down to, what problem am I solving? And again, you can kind of see all of these things tend to be linked together. And so the strategy portion of defining the competitive edge really will drive the responses for every single part of the process through. Finally, after we've answered these questions, we're going to look at, what is it that differentiates me from the marketplace? Where is it that I can derive some sort of a unique aspect that allows me to, in sometimes extraordinarily crowded marketplaces, to derive that competitive advantage and really look at somebody and say, I'm unique because, and really delineate that in ways that solve that take advantage of your product or your particular service. And it fits into the question of what you do. So again, as you go through today's presentation, I'd consider how each one of these relates to you and your individual businesses. And again, when we get to the end, I would love to learn a lot more about what you do individually. So we can craft maybe some solutions around these areas, especially if you happen to be struggling, or you're looking at this strategically and you're saying, gosh, I really wish I could cut some things out, but I feel like I need to do it all. So this, I would say, falls under the rubric of looking at problems that you solve, and you're going to define the ideal customer. And a lot of times we're looking at demographics or even psychographics, and the questions are, what types of benefits are you providing for the ideal customer? Why should a customer buy from you? And I touched a little bit on this in the opening slide, but especially in crowded marketplaces, the reasons for the purchases tend to be obscured by the messaging that the clients get. And it's important to understand, because really a sale is made from a psychological perspective within the first 7 seconds that somebody hears your message. So it's important to understand, why somebody in this particular age bracket is going to buy a product. Well, you can ask questions around that. What kind of connections do they make as communities? And one of the more interesting aspects of social media is that when you look at communities of interest, they are really defined by the conversations that happen within there. So if you're looking at psychographic information and you're looking for communities of interest, the question is, how does your product or your service fit into that conversation? How does it get structured in such a way that it really tugs at what your customer, your ideal client, what they truly value? And then from a benefit perspective, the benefit is so overwhelming that the client really has no choice but to make that purchase from you. That's how you know that you have true competitive advantage. I don't necessarily touch on it in this slide, in this presentation, but one of the other key indicators, especially if you're delivering value to clients, the way I just described it, is that you're able to maintain some margin. You're able to maintain margin in the overall product that you sell. So by defining all of this and adding value and layering it, not only are you getting a great sense of what your clients need from you, but in the end, you're able to really look at your fee structure and ideally have much more margin. So this is interesting. Most clients, when I meet them, especially individual product manufacturers, they tell me, Ryan, we are so unique in the business that we don't have any competitors in the marketplace. And I love to hear that, because I hear it so frequently that it makes me smile, because everybody has competitors. I think about myself in the consulting and strategy and coaching that I do. And I think I have a very unique product, but I also know that there are hundreds of consultants that are out there, and they specialize in different things. And so the question is, what is it about you that differentiates you from your customers or from the competition out there? Are there substitutes? Are there things that your clients could do that basically obviates the need for hiring you, buying your product? And so it's very important to try to understand where are we in the marketplace, and really, what is it that we do better? What is it that we do better than anybody else? And I think of one of the clothing manufacturers that I work with right now, and she runs just a wonderful shop. And I think that the thing that makes it unique, there are a lot of folks out there that make types of tops or workout equipment, workout clothing that she makes. But she truly understands that it's an experience. She really connects with and consumer, and she can connect them in ways that are incredibly unique, especially compared to larger competitors. And so, in a sense, by understanding the competition, it allows you to really pivot and make adjustments in your messaging and look at your product and really take a hard look and say, what is it about me that in developing this product that really does make us stand out? Is it the type of fabrics that we, in this case with clothing, that we source? For our software manufacturers, is it a way for us to deliver information back to a business in different ways that helps them grow their business or save them money? For financial professionals, can I deliver information to my clients in such a way and provide advice and feedback in such a way that I'm doing it for the best interest of that client, and really looking out and saying, I'm providing incredible value because I'm looking at every aspect of what the client needs. And these are things that when you layer them on top of one another and you really connect with your clients and get a sense of really who they are, it's a way for you to understand how you do it better in the market. And then lastly, talk about configuring of resources. Once you've defined the market, once you've gone through the process of understanding who you are and what you do and looking at the entire marketplace, then there is an array of things that you can do operationally. So StratIQ tends to work in really 4 different areas. We work in marketing, we work in operations, we work with financial management, and we work in team and leadership development. And what we're looking for is to, just like that Rubik's Cube, understand how is that solution, how does that algorithm get configured in such a way that once we understand what defines us against the marketplace, we can use those resources that we have at our disposal, whether they're people, or they're capital resources, or they happen to be some sort of unique intellectual property that you may have, where we can take that and we can configure them in certain ways that nobody else can replicate. And it allows you to do your business more efficiently and ultimately deliver a better experience and a much more effective one at that to your clients. So you'll see, there's a list of 6 different types of resources, and of course there's many more. But when you look at your business, competitive advantage at the end, when you're finished out looking at what you do, it really does come down to, how do I link together all of the different resources I have in unique and different ways and drive operational efficiency. Competitive advantage is not a static event. It's something that needs to be revisited periodically. For very large companies, that tends to be yearly, or in some cases every 2 to 3 years. For smaller companies that can maintain their nimbleness, it might be as frequently as once a month or once a quarter. But by having a set of clear goals and a set strategy, defining what you do and how you do it, understanding your operations, looking at how your value chain and all of the different activities that you do on a day-to-day basis, and understanding from an operational point of view, how do you evaluate your operations? What does it mean to be efficient? What does greatness look like? What does it mean to have a great operation, to link together those resources? When you revisit it and you can maintain that nimbleness, especially if you're a startup or you're a small business and you want to maintain that advantage against a crowded marketplace, you're going to be doing this fairly frequently. And I'd recommend, especially for a small business owner, do it at least once a quarter. Really examine yourself against the marketplace and create tough benchmarks, things that you can quantify and measure, so that you really know how you're doing. You know what great looks like. Ultimately, as you probably gathered, I really highly recommend getting a plan together. And it's very, very simple. We have a platform that we create for clients just in those 4 areas: marketing, operations, the financial plan or financial management, then how you do your leadership and your team development. And those really are the cornerstone areas. They're really, it's not rocket science, but the magic in the algorithm is how do you put all of those pieces together, and then how do you measure them, and then as a business owner or manager or sole practitioner, how do you get a sense for where you happen to be at any given moment? And with a great plan and a great measurement tool, which we can help you build at StratIQ, but I think that you'll have a leg up against your competition and create that sustainable competitive advantage. So at any rate, I wanted to conclude, take about 20 minutes or so, and we're at 12:20 right now. I want to encourage you to, if you've got any questions, please ask. You can always email me at my email address, bwilliams@stratiqconsulting.com. At the website, you have access to some surveys there. This particular webinar will be recorded and placed, or a link to it will be placed on our website. And then I'll also be emailing out slides and notes from today's webinar. At any rate, thank you very much for coming, and I look forward to hearing from all of you very, very soon. Have a great holiday. Take care.